Hey, what's going on, everybody? We have a video for you today on key people associated with the Great Depression and the New Deal. Lots of important people that often appear in the form of multiple choice questions on your AP exam. So let's get going. All right, we're going to start off talking about a group, not a single person, but a group of people, the Bonus Army. And the Bonus Expeditionary Force, or the BEF, they were promised a bonus for their service at a later date. These were World War I veterans who were promised that in 1945 they would receive a bonus. However, this is in the midst of the Great Depression in 1932. So the Bonus Army members descend upon Washington, D.C. in 1932 in hopes of receiving their bonuses then in 1932 as opposed to 1945. And they set up Hoovervilles, which are these like shanty little houses and towns all over D.C. And again, you see them camping here right in front of the Capitol building. Hoover orders the army, led by Douglas MacArthur, the very famous general from World War II and also the Korean War, to break up the Bonus Army. And he does so, and the Bonus Army clashes with police, and they are forced to leave. And many Americans resented Hoover for his actions for ordering the breakup of the Bonus Army. It is done in a violent way. All right, we're going to talk about a very famous female, Frances Perkins. She was part of FDR's Brain Trust, which is FDR's inner circle, and it's very similar to Andrew Jackson's kitchen cabinet, if you remember his group of advisors. So who was Frances Perkins? Well, you see FDR sitting here signing a bill, and you see Frances Perkins just behind him. And she was the Secretary of Labor and the first woman secretary in United States history. Definitely know that. All right, Dr. Francis Townsend. He was an activist for elderly Americans. If you can remember that he's an older guy, then this will help you out in understanding what he pushed for. So he was the creator of the Townsend Plan, which favored giving senior citizens $200 a month, and this money would be financed by a new tax. And his idea is this Townsend Plan was instrumental in establishing Social Security, which is still around today. Father Charles Coughlin was an incredibly popular radio host. He had about 40 million people listening to his show at one time, the most popular radio host in U.S. history. He originally supported the New Deal, but he later became a critic, and he wanted the government to change the banking system. He didn't feel that FDR went far enough, and he thought that FDR should actually nationalize the banking system. However, he was very anti-Semitic, which means he disliked and hated Jewish people, and this helped get his radio show canceled. Huey Long, very, very important to know Huey Long. He was a senator and former governor from Louisiana. He created the Share Our Wealth program, which proposed giving each family in the United States $5,000 by taxing the wealthy. And this is an example of redistribution of wealth. So again, he wanted to tax the rich and then redistribute that money to those that are less fortunate. And he is assassinated in 1935, and he could have been a challenge to FDR in the 1936 Democratic primary. He was very, very popular. All right, John Maynard Keynes. He was a British economist. Look at him. Doesn't he look British? I don't know. He does to me. He advocated that the government should run a deficit to quote-unquote prime the pump. What does that mean? Well, the government should spend more money than it takes in the short term. So the government should purposely run into debt. And this theory advocated that would help the economy get out of the Depression. This is where FDR and Hoover differed significantly in their views in combating the Great Depression. Hoover, who was president from 1929 to 1933, did not believe in running a deficit. FDR absolutely did, and he instituted this philosophy during the recession in 1937 to 1938. So FDR fully embraces Keynesian economics in 1937 to 1938, and the government drastically increases its deficit spending. All right, thank you very much for watching. That's everything you need to know about key people from the New Deal and Great Depression. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in this section below. I thank you very much for watching, and have a good day, guys.